Are you contemplating hiring a mentor or real estate coach to help you grow your portfolio? If so, this episode is for you. Hi, everyone. I am Becky Nova, founder of the Lady Landlords Facebook group, and this is the Lady Landlords podcast. Today, we're going to be talking all about if a mentor is the right strategy for you to go through with your portfolio. And if so, how do you find the right person and what does all that look like? So, first off, let's talk about if you should even hire one. Well, I'm here to tell you that there are definitely different ways to go with this one. You can 100% bootstrap your real estate investing career. What I mean by that is you can continue to listen to podcasts and YouTube videos like the one you're listening to now with Lady Landlords and other podcasts. You can also go read the blogs, get your education there, make sure to be picking up and reading different books. And then when you take all that information, then you can figure out that strategy for you to see if that's possibly going to work out and hope and pray that it all actually does. That's one strategy. But there's possibly another way to go. And that is by working with a mentor. What that does is that actually helps get you the experience of someone else to point you in the right direction of your own portfolio. Why not work with somebody and get the information of what they've done from somebody that has been there, done that, been successful in exactly what you want to do? So in that way, all you have to do is actually just duplicate what they've been doing. You don't have to worry about recreating the wheel or figuring out what strategy might work. There's a ton of different ways that you're going to be able to figure out if that is the right way to go for you. Here's a great analogy that just might help you decide if hiring a mentor is right. Think about these two scenarios, right? We're going to start with the idea that you are hungry and you are ready for some fruit. Well, you have two different ways to do that. You can go down to Whole Foods, you can spend an extra couple bucks and you're going to pick up your cut up fruit, right? Everything there ready to go. All you have to do is just open that container and just start eating that sweet fruit. That's nice. That's convenient. Fine. You paid an extra couple bucks for it, but it saved you a ton of time, a ton of money, a ton of energy, right? Well, the other thing that you could do is you could go and you could pick up the own fruit yourself. You can buy the whole thing. Go get your watermelon, your cantaloupe, your pineapple, carry all that home, sit there, chop all those things up, make sure that you don't lose a finger, make sure that you even know how to cut up some of that stuff, and then fine, in maybe 3 to 4 hours, you'll be able to eat that cut fruit. So think about which one of those two options kind of sounds like what you want to do for your real estate portfolio, because it's really kind of the same thing. Working with a mentor or a coach, you're paying for that convenience. You're paying for somebody else's expertise that's already been there, done that, and has accomplished the same things that you want to. And that's what's going to make a big difference for you. So you can absolutely bootstrap it yourself and take the time and learn everything on your own and make the mistakes and pay for the mistakes and then try to go back and correct them. But otherwise, using a coach can definitely be a way for you to get there and get there faster. So let's talk about what I'm going to call the 3 S's to making sure that you know if a mentor is right for you or not. So here are the ways to kind of go through it. First one is to remember that a mentor can save you money. Now, I know what you're saying, Becky, whoa, whoa, whoa. How are you telling me that spending money on a mentor will actually save me money? That sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Well, let's break this down then. Yes, you would be paying a mentor for their time, for their expertise, right? But the idea is that mentor is actually going to be able to save you thousands in the end because you will not be making the same mistakes as those people that are bootstrapping things and have nobody to ask the question to on if they are making the right decisions. What I mean by this is that there are so many different things in real estate investing that's going to cost us money, between analyzing a deal properly and making sure that we found the right property for us. That in itself, if you do not properly analyze your deals, that could really set you back a ton of money. That can make you into absolute financial ruin. If all of a sudden you realize that you saved up all this money, bought this property, and yet you didn't analyze your property properly. You would be sitting there expecting to get this great cash flow and all of a sudden realize you were actually underwater and not able to actually pay your loan back. And now you're in a really bad situation. A mentor would be able to help you analyze those deals, make sure that you're not missing any numbers, making sure that everything is included and that you're actually really doing those things properly. That in itself is absolutely invaluable to be working with a mentor. They can also help walk you through some of the other decisions that you have to make, talking about different homeowners insurance policies that you're going to need, different ways to include the testing that you're going to have to get done through a home inspection. All of those different things can cost you money. And it's really important to make sure that you know which items you should be paying for, which items you don't need to pay for, and honestly, which properties you just need to step back and walk away from. So that's why it's important to know that mentors actually will save you money in the long run. So, S number 2 is that mentors will save you time. So, I want you to think about this. Here you're listening to this episode, most likely in fall of 2021. Imagine a year from now. Now we're talking fall 2022. What would you do if you were in the exact same situation today as you were that 1 year ago when you're listening to this episode? You'd probably be really upset. You'd be like, wait, but I'm reading all these books, I'm reading all these, listening to all these blogs, but yet I still have not taken any action. That in itself will cost you a ton of time. You're not moving towards your goals. You're not working towards what it is that you set out to do. And that is something that you are just literally letting that time slip by and not getting any closer to what it is that you find important or that you want to be working on within your life. So, all of that cash flow that you would be expecting to get is also not hitting your bank account because you still haven't done anything a year later. So, working with a mentor will also help with your accountability. They're going to help with that decision making. They're going to help make sure that you are moving forward. They're going to help make sure that you are doing the things that you're going to say. So that way you are not waiting a year. Next year, we all are kind of going through and experiencing what inflation is like right now, which means that the money in the bank is probably not going to be worth as much as it is today as it will be a year from now. So that is something that you want to make sure that we are putting it in the right investment vehicles so that way we can actually beat this inflation that is driving us all crazy right now. But getting in the game, getting your properties, making sure that you're getting that cash flow sooner than later will completely compound and make sure that you are closer to reaching your goals of financial freedom. Now, the third S, if you have not noticed that I'm going with all the words saves today, but number 3 is also a saves, and mentors will save you headaches. The reason for that is because there is so much that you can do within real estate investing. You can do syndications or wholesaling or rental properties or flips. And then even within that, then there's different subgroups. Now you got to think about, well, you're going to be doing any of those strategies, but now with multifamilies or single families or apartment complexes and commercial properties. There is so much that you can do within real estate that even just by deciding that you're going to buy a rental property already probably took about 100 different decisions for you to even get to that point. All of those little decisions that you are making absolutely add up. They make a huge difference in what your plan is, and you have to make sure that you are making the right decisions along the way. One big mistake that I see all the time that investors make is when they will read a story about somebody that went and did this one thing that one time and they made a good couple bucks from it. And then all of a sudden, every other investor just starts chasing after that. The reason I want to caution against that is because you need to make sure that you are doing what you want for your real estate portfolio. You need to go after what your goals are, not what other people's goals are. So there's no reason to try to replicate somebody else's success, especially one if it was a one-time thing that they just happened to get lucky with. And 2, if it's also not something that you can enjoy, if that's not something that was in your goals, or that's not how you like to work. So it really helps when you have a mentor that will help you make these decisions and narrow down what your focus is going to be. So that way you're really creating a sustainable business and not just trying to land a one-time fluke. That's really important because I want to make sure that you are building the portfolio in a way that's going to be successful for you. Each one of you listening to this has different goals within real estate, and you need to make sure that you are making decisions from the start that reflect what those goals are and what you're actually trying to accomplish. Not what I'm trying to accomplish, not the other woman sitting next to you wants to accomplish, but what you actually want to accomplish within this. That is incredibly important. So one of the ways to then do that is to make sure that you are working with a mentor that has done what you want to do. For example, If you are looking to buy long distance, you definitely want to make sure that you are working with a mentor that has owned properties and also has rented things long distance. You want to make sure that if you want to do the BRRRR strategy and renovate properties and flip them, that you are working with somebody that has also renovated properties and has flipped them. It's important to make sure that the person that you're going to be working with and pick to work with has the experience that you need to move forward, right? Because if you're going to be paying to make sure to get the information from them about what they've done so that way you can duplicate that success, you want to make sure then that it is the same thing that you are hoping to do as well. Now, there are tons of different mentors out there, coaches that are absolutely fantastic. But if you are listening to this episode of the Lady Landlords podcast, that probably means that there's something that you hopefully like about me and about how I work and run my portfolio and the advice that I give. So I'm going to share a little bit about how I work and really what I specialize in and how I can help you, just in case that's something that you're interested in. So what makes me a little bit different than a lot of the other coaches out there is that I am actively also growing my portfolio. There are a lot of so-called gurus out there or coaches out there that are sitting there counting their money from their mansions saying, oh yes, when I built my portfolio, this is how I did it. And they're sitting there and they haven't bought property since the 80s. Well, the market in the 80s is incredibly different than it is today. You need to find somebody that is actually your contemporary and buying within this market, because so much is going on. They need to have their pulse in this market themselves to be able to advise and help you correctly. And that is something that I am doing. And that is something that I am absolutely primed to be able to share my insights and how I'm doing my market analysis and my research with you as well. Second thing that makes me incredibly different than other mentors out there is that I have a background in research and analytics. You may know, if you've been following me for a while, that I've worked in cancer research for about the past 15 years. All I do is research things. Now, why that's important and how that makes it different for you is because my special skill is finding the path to least resistance. What I mean by that is I see so many women out there that feel that they need to use this creative financing strategy, or they have to pay this hard money lender, this interest rate, or they have to go and use all these complicated techniques to be able to get their property. And I'm telling you, sometimes the answer is really just in front of your face. Sometimes it's not as difficult as you think. And I feel like people get stalled in just feeling that they need to use these complicated strategies when really there is such an easy path that sometimes you just can't see that I can. And that's what makes me unique. Now, one of the ways that I am able to do that is because you've probably heard me say this before on other podcasts, but my goal is not to own all of the real estate. My goal, you will never hear me say, oh, I just bought, my 37,000 unit. I don't want that. I don't want that many doors. What I want is the most amount of cash flow with the least amount of doors. To me, that's the least amount of headaches, right? So it's important to me to make sure that I am always finding the most amount of money for the least amount of work. That's just kind of how I like to run my business. So if that resonates at all with you, then I am definitely your lady to work with. But I do find it important to make sure that you are finding the right person. If it's not me, that's great. But do make sure that you are getting the help that you need to make sure to grow your portfolio. So if you are interested in working with me, I will make sure to put a link down in the show notes where you can contact me there, and we can chat more about your specific situation and see if I'm a good fit for you. Otherwise, do make sure to subscribe to this episode of the Lady Landlords podcast, whether you are watching on our YouTube channel, or you can also subscribe if you are listening to our podcast directly. And I will see you next Tuesday for our next episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. Thanks for joining today.